Hello there, welcome back. I'm doing a little book review today of a book from 1969 that I recently read called The Human Zoo by Desmond Morris. I really like this one. Desmond Morris is actually a zoologist. He's really old now, he's in his 90s. And I'll describe this book as a kind of anthropological study of urban life from a zoologist's perspective. And straight off the bat, I really like this because I personally see the human race as just kind of like we're all primates. We're primates who have evolved, and we've now ended up living in cities and stuff, which is unnatural. So it's really my kind of book. I really enjoyed it. The main message of the book is like an often heard phrase by some people who live in a city. When things get really stressful, they say, it's a jungle out there. This city is like a jungle. But the main message of this book is like, no, a city is nothing like a jungle. In a jungle, an animal is free. In a jungle, you've got freedom. A city is like a zoo. It's like a human zoo, where the animals are kept in cages, as in houses and buildings. So the urban life is compared to zoo life in that respect. And it's emphasised that, you know, by nature we're hunter-gatherers. Human beings are hunter-gatherers, but now the small tribe has turned into a super tribe in a city. And a big difference there is when we were hunter-gatherers, we knew everybody in our tribe. Everyone was our friend, everyone was familiar. But in a super tribe, in a city, we don't know most people. Most people are strangers to us. Outside our small circle of friends and family, we're not familiar with the rest of our tribe, and that has a huge effect on our psychology. So it's a very good book in that respect. It sees things from quite a unique angle. And I just want to talk about 4 main points in this book that I learnt about. Like four really unique insights that stand out for me. The first one is, in modern life we tend to form subgroups. A subgroup could be like going to a book club, or it could be a knitting club, or you could belong to a sports club, or it could be involved or related to music. You could be a goth, or you could be into heavy metal, and that's your little subgroup. You could be part of a political group, or you could be part of a gang. We like to form subgroups, and this stems from our unconscious desire to be back in a hunter-gatherer group. That's what we evolved from. We used to go around in small groups. And this again relates to power. In a hunter-gatherer group, it's quite not easy, but it's quite likely that you would one day become a powerful leader of that group. But in a super tribe, like in a big modern society, your chances of becoming like the president or one of the president's like informers is so slim, you might as well not bother. So it's much easier to form a subgroup or join a subgroup, and then within a few years you can rise to power within that subgroup. That's why we've got an urge to do that. He also points out that a lot of our hobbies kind of resemble tribal hunting. Some of you might find this a bit tenuous, but I think there might be something in it. For example, with photography, a lot of the language used there kind of resembles hunting. You capture a nice landscape, you capture the composition, you take snapshots. This is all about shooting and capturing things. If you're a football player, you shoot the ball, and in a lot of sports you take aim. I think he's onto something. I think we're I think a lot of the stuff we do and say is linked to our hunter-gatherer days without us kind of realising it. Another great one for me is that there's a whole chapter about phallic symbols, like symbolism evolving around the male penis, male genitalia. And this is about status as well. It's about status and power. Generally speaking, a cigar is more powerful than a cigarette. If a man smokes a big fat cigar, he's got more dominance than if he sits there smoking a little cigarette. If somebody pokes a big cigar in your face, it's like a big. It's like they're saying, look, this is my big penis. Again, this might sound ridiculous to some people, but I think if you read it, you see that it makes sense. He goes on about guitars. This book was published in the 1960s and 70s, or the late 60s, and you had lots of like heavy metal bands during that era. And he points out that the guitar traditionally had a big round body and a short pointy bit at the front. But by the late 1960s, a lot of these rock bands had reduced the size of the guitar's body, and they'd made the whole thing longer. And a lot of those modern guitars resembled big penises as a sign of status and a sign of power. He thinks the necktie is like a symbolic representation of the penis. And as I was reading this, I kind of realised that if somebody gives you like a thumbs up signal, like yeah, that's good, well done, that is also a kind of phallic symbolism, isn't it? He points out that giving somebody the finger like this is a phallic symbol, but I suppose the thumbs up sign is as well. Certainly food for thought. And another interesting point is that apparently all fashionable clothing originates from sportswear. Two examples he notes is the long-tailed suit and like the traditional. If you go back to like old. What era was it? Like the late 19th century or the mid 19th century, it was very fashionable to wear a long-tailed suit and a hat. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a picture on the screen now. This originated from hunting. Back in the day, people only used to wear these kind of clothes when they were hunting, doing sports. But if somebody wanted to display their wealth and to make a point that they had loads of leisure time available, they started to wear these clothes on the street on a weekday, and they were saying, look at me, I've got so much leisure time that I can wear sportswear during the day, on a normal day. And then it became the height of fashion to wear these suits. Another one is the polo neck sweater. There was a time when the polo neck sweater was very fashionable. But of course it started off with the sport game polo. People used to play polo wearing these sweaters, and then eventually people started wearing them in their leisure time, and they were saying, look at me, I've got so much leisure time, I'm so privileged. And it's interesting to note that sportswear in general has become more popular these days. People walk around wearing tracksuits, don't they, and trainers. So maybe that's linked to status. He ends up, the last chapter is dedicated to architecture, and he points out that modern architecture is like designed in a grid-like pattern. Very boring, straight streets in like a grid shape. But that's not good for the human psyche. We like to explore. We like to walk down the end of an alleyway, turn a corner and see a setting that's completely different and unexpected. But modern planners and modern architects these days don't think that way, and that has a negative effect on the human psyche. I'm going to finish here because there's a big loud boat coming my way that's going to get really annoying, but I really recommend reading this one. If you're into anthropology, And if you're into studying the human race in general, modern life, this is a great book, and I highly recommend it, okay? Thanks for watching. I'll be back in another couple of weeks or so with another video. In the meantime, try to have a great day on this zoo-like, urban, tribal rock we call Earth. Goodbye. See you next time.